of Hayes. To be honest, pagka nag-pick yung team nila ng Chod, there are a lot of times na even the fans, kahit maka-BREN man yan, maka-Omega, they would like to see that show na gamitin ni Hayes. Regardless, manalo, matalo, as long na si Hayes ang gumamit yan, okay na sila.
And alam mo, naniniwala ako na marami pa rin naniniwala sa dating, marami pa rin fans at naniniwala sa either main squad.
Oo naman.
Ever since, probably one of the best teams na na-produce natin. But, alam mo, looking at it, we have the draft on.
Yun na.
Rob.
Eto na mga kaibigan, we're about to start our very first na 10 hero band setup dito sa MPL. Itong mga team, ito kasi no, Butters, baga parang sila yung naging pangit tawagin, no? Parang scapegoat. Na parang yung mga teams na maglalaro bukas, ito yung magiging basehan nila kung how this games will play out.
Naniniwala din ako na may sarili silang understanding sa mga bagay-bagay. And by the way, Rob, meron pala akong kwento.
Sige, gusto ko yan.
Mainit to, pre. Si Hayes, in-interview siya.
Okay.
Sa po sa MLBB page. Legends, parang legends post siya about Hayes.
Okay.
The players that actually have been in the MPL from Season 1 to Season 6. Sabi ni Hayes, ang pinaka-nirespeto yung player, si Ribo.
Oh, meron care to expound that? Bakit si... Well, ako muna...
Hindi siya na-expound doon.
Hindi siya na-expound
doon.
Pero kung ako siguro, kasi syempre kasama niya doon from Season 1, sila yung nag-champion, di ba, under either main na ngalan before they go to BREN ESPORTS. Then, siguro para sa akin, si Ribo yung pinaka-versatile na player of all time eh. Kumbaga, multi-role, tapos kahit anong role mo siya ilagay, for sure meron siyang magagawa for the team.
Now, looking at the bans, Rob, dito, you have the Atlas, the Kufra getting banned, BREN ESPORTS banning out the Farsa, which I believe is the best support right now.
Oh, totoo. Kasi you could use it offensively and defensively, to be honest. Even on scaling strategies, kumbaga, kahit medyo lugi kayo sa early to mid game, there's always a part of you na, lalo na kung scaling yung nyo, no? Pwedeng pan-defend talaga ang isang Farsa. Pero how about the Selena, Butters? What do you think about the ban for the Selena?
It's all about map control. Not having an annoying hero onto the side of Omega. Kumbaga, hindi makukuha yung map control, walang objective control dito yung side ng BREN ESPORTS. Yun lang yung gusto nila mangyari. And by the way, if Omega is banning out the Yuzhong, that only means that they want to go for Yi Sun Shin.
Possibly, oo. That's actually a good read, no? Pero pero alam ko kung di ako nagkakamali, dami ko sinabi, is that merong part na ang YSS ngayon is been debuffed. Na-nerf siya ngayon to the point na yung dash niya, nawala na yung 30% na parang yung kunat doon sa dash niya. The only thing na naiwan is hindi siya masisisi pagka nandun siya sa dashing phase. Pero yeah, we'll see. Pero ito, I really like the pick din as hit na as a roaming na tank eh.
Usually kasi kapag makikita mo itong mga Hilda picks, if you really want to go for an early snowball. I mean, Hilda is one of those tanks na talagang alam mo yun, innately tanky siya.
Oo.
Na hindi niya kailangan usually ng items na pampakunat. And what you actually want Hilda to go for is yung mga bagay na heptasis na maayos. If ever kasi na mag-stack yung ulti niya, then that only means that you are getting more damage output. And kung sobrang snowball nyo, there's a time na baka pagka gamitin mo yung ulti, mapalo mo yung isang kalaban, mabura na siya agad.
Oo. Totoo yun. Totoo. Ang bilis talaga ng hero na yan eh. Pero how about what do you think about this? The Chango pick dito. This might be a support Chango, what do you think? Or a side lane?
This is probably a side Chango. It could be a support. Pero kasi, titignan ko pa yung setup na gagawin nila dito. Omega, you're gonna ban out the Lancelot, and this is where the 5 ban o 10 ban setup. Kapag nakuha na yung first 3, anim na heroes sa tayo dito, kapag nakuha na yung first 3, dyan na yung set ng adjustments.
Exactly.
Kumbaga, BREN ESPORTS dito, Omega thinks that they want the Lancelot. Probably for, alam mo yun, BREN ESPORTS naman, ang tinanggal nila is si Cyclops. So that means they want to get an annoying hero. Yung talaga sobrang mobile na hero na makakatakas, makakabalik. And I really think that kailangan natin bantayan yung drafting at this point of the game. Tandaan natin na ang drafting, Rob, parang chess to eh.
Oo. Parang you have to think 2 steps forward. Parang ganon. Parang, kumbaga, it's a really a mind game, mga kaibigan. Pero kung iisipin mo dito, the way Omega Esports is banning is parang tinatanggalan nila somehow ng hero dito si Carl. Kasi the Lancelot and the Hayabusa has already been removed. Like, most of the time, ang nilalagay sa gitna na may iwan dito sa pagkakaread ko is like the Roger, possibly. Yun yung, ano pa sa tingin mo ang mga pwedeng gamitin? Kimi, is that a possibility? Hindi na no? Masyado ng, parang squishy masyado if ever. And, of course, nandito yung Linghood ko be able to go sa may backlanes agad dito ng BREN Esports.
Actually, ang pinagtataka ko nga dito, Rob, ba't walang kumukuha ng YSS sa kanila eh? Well, actually, there was a nerf.
Yes.
There was a bit of a nerf kay YSS. And that could have changed yung pananaw ng mga players natin dito sa pagpili ng isang YSS. Pero, I think, for Omega, I think that the Ling is a good pick. Kasi kung iisipin mo dito, there is only one crowd control here on the side of BREN Esports as of now, and that's going to be Lasty. So, ibig sabihin, si Lasty dito, yung kung sa kanya man tong show, if ever, pakiramdam ko, sole responsibility niya na gamitin agad to kay Ling.
Totoo yun. Pero, well, Loyi is still available dito for Omega Esports. Pero, well, in terms of the Ling butters, meron din siyang nerf na if pag nalaglag siya, may it's either 2 seconds slow or stun unless dun sa dalawa. And the Tempest of Blade has been reduced from 30% movement to 10%. So meaning to say, pag mobile yung mga hero, like for example, ito yung, kumbaga ang bibilis, even the Chango, medyo meron din siyang buff na nagpapabilis sa kanya. It would be hard for him to do the knock-up doon sa Tempest of Blade. Well, aside damage-wise, I think, and AoE, okay pa rin naman ang isang Ling. And of course, Omega Esports, we're about to let us know kung yung nerf ba dito sa Ling enough na. Oh!
Your team is picking.
And they actually go for a Claude. And I like this pick just because the attribute gain works well with the Claude sa ngayon. BREN Esports deemed it to be one of the, a playable hero in the competitive scene. And they just go for it. Gusto ko yung attack speed attribute gain niya, by the way. So, there is a bit of a change there. Kumbaga, dati kasi yun yung binabaan eh. Tapos ngayon, ang ginawa na naman, tinaasan na naman. Pero hindi na doon sa same level as the first one. Kumbaga, nilagay doon sa may gitna ng dalawa.
To the point na viable na ulit laruin ang isang Claude. And somehow, what do you think about in terms of emblem dito? Babalik kaya dito yung like Veterans Hunter na nauso noong mga nakaraang season? Or still, ito yung papasok dito, yung the Killing Spree, na ang gamit talaga ngayon na Assassin Emblem is Killing Spree. Pero looks like ang tanky ng kung iisipin mo. Aside from BREN Esports that they have the Uranus, what do you think about these butters? If we could be doing a prediction dito, which draft are you favoring the most?
BREN Esports, in a way, they have this 1-3-1 thing going on for them. I mean, teams naman. Pero mas mataas lang yung emphasis kasi dito talaga kay Cardsi na mabigyan siya ng gold. So, if you think about it, yung Omega dito, they have the Ling. Si Ling din, kailangan din ma-funnel yan. But the thing about Ling is, kaya niya kasi kumuha ng pick-off sa sarili niya. For Claude kasi medyo kailangan mo pang ilatag sa kanya yung kill in the early stages of the game. So, pacing-wise, if makuha ng Omega ng mabilis dito yung lead against BREN Esports, Omega has a better chance of winning actually. But if BREN Esports stops them from actually doing anything at sabihin natin ma-funnel na lang nila dito o ma-accelerate na yung farm ng Claude, then that only means na medyo not medyo, pero magkakaroon talaga ng problema dito yung Omega-PH.
I totally agree with you. Pero siguro ako, if I'll be doing a prediction dito, probably slightly, I'll lean towards BREN Esports. To the point kasi, parang ang bilis ng minion ng wave clear nila. They have the Chango. If in case na, yun nga, yung pinag-usapan nating scaling heroes dito, pwedeng makapag-defend agad. Pero yun na, mga kaibigan, this is the very first match ng ating week number 2, BREN Esports laban sa Omega.
And we're actually seeing things here happening on the map. Kung papansinin mo, there's a 3v3 happening to the middle lane. Alam ng Omega na nasa kanila yung lamang dito, pero hindi sila takot dito sa side ng BREN Esports kasi alam nila kaya din nila. And look at the HP bars dito ng BREN Esports.
Oo.
Medyo sila yung naging biktima dito ng ginagawang aggression ng Omega.
Grabe yung aggression nga talaga ng Omega. Look at the damage na binigay doon ni Hit. Pero ang hinahabol ngayon dito, that's gonna be Haze, habol, Coral TC, Molten Sights to slow down. It's gonna first kill pero hindi pa sila humihinto. Hit will be taken down as well by Flap TC. What a timing na pagdating doon ng Tamus.
Holy moly, kakasimula pa lang natin
Oo.
dito. Kakasimula pa lang natin dito. May 2 kills na papasok dito sa BREN Esports. And wow, Omega got punished.
Punished talaga. Kasi they almost had, to be honest, few doon from the initial damage na binigay nung Hilda. Pero not knowingly, yung ikot ni Flap TC, sobrang laki. Ayan, kung makikita natin dito to our Gillette instant replay na first blood doon si Ace at TC, no? Yun yung talagang medyo burden sa side ng Omega that time.
Alam mo, Rob, good na sana yun for the side of Omega. Na napuwerksa nila umalis ng lane sila Rebo. Napuwerksa nila umalis ng lane si Flap. Nakapagbigay sila ng space. But ang hindi naging okay para sa kanila nakakuha ng 2 kill yung side dito ng BREN Esports. Yung isa pa doon napunta kay Carl.
Totoo. Yun yung magiging parang mahirap. Lalo, sa ganitong sitwasyon kasi, lalo na't na unang nag-level 4, yung Tamus, talagang kayang-kaya niya ng i-zone out dito. Kung makikita mo, kinat na doon nung Tamus sa top, nakatulong na naman siya, nandito na naman sa gitna. Flap TC going in, pasok sila dito, Cotton Inter has been popped out, Temples of Blade ni Haji, ginamit na lang pantakas mga chong, and that's gonna be end of the skirmish, and 3-0, lamang na lamang dito, Butters, ang BREN Esports.
And enigmatic plays coming here from BREN Esports. You wouldn't really know kung saan sila manggagaling. It just so happens na laging meron tao doon sa mga gilid. And right now, Haji, hindi niya din alam kung saan nagagaling tong pressure na to. At gusto niya man tumulong, pero the only thing he can throw out right now is the Tempest of Blades. Isang knock-up lang yan. And na-realize dito ng BREN Esports na wala sila masyadong stun.
Oo, totoo. Yun eh. Kumbaga kaya silang pasok-pasukin. Yes, they do have here na mga parang single target poke, even the damage from hit. Pero ang nagiging burden talaga for the side, I guess, dito ng Omega is si Flap TC. Kumbaga, well-farm siya. Look at the damage doon if you almost have HP doon si Haji. At ang yun nga, isa pang problema, hindi na makaalis sa mid lane dito ang hyper-carry ngayon ng Omega.
And as far as I know, the thing about Chang'o kasi is yung bawat placement no, ng first skill niya, kapag tumama talaga sa'yo yun, masakit na masakit yun. And now, paisa-isa kasi yun, and he got everything of those skills at Kenji dito, nasa alanganin.
Oo, nasipa siya doon at alanganin na nga dahil kailangan niya na dito umuwi doon sa may bandang gilid. Look at Flap TC going in, pero may counter kill naman, nabawian na rin at last. Pero yung space na binibigay dito ni Flap TC for the whole BREN Esports squad, sobrang hindi matatawaran, paring Butters. They get the turtle almost for free and almost din na nakuha nila doon yung orange buff ng MPL-PH.
And si Rebo dito, naparusahan siya ng onte, pero that is still a Uranus, hindi madaling i-take down yan.
Totoo. Ito pa yung mahirap dyan, no, Butters. Kumbaga, Flap TC, which is technically, dapat yun yung medyo mahihirapan in such lane na, kumbaga, parang stalemate sila dapat doon sa lane na yon. Siya yung nag-flourish dito sa ating early game. Ngayon, hindi na nila ngayon ma-RTC. This is something na kailangan mo talagang maging cautious talaga, buong Omega.
And to add to that, Rob, hindi na din nila mabigyan ng place to farm si Haji dito in any way. Lahat ng pwede pag-farman ni Haji dito nagkakaroon siya ng problema.
Oo, yun ang problema. Dahil namatay na rin doon yung Hilda. Pero tumalon doon sa may bandang gitna, TC, but the damage is not enough. Look at that damage dito ni Haze with that passive, and Flap TC just murdering the back lanes of Omega Esports. Triple kill nga pa ang binigay. That's Flap TC, the new kid on the block para sa BREN Esports, doing a lot of things para sa kanilang squad.
Omega, they're really having a hard time just because of that reactive play na ginawa ng BREN Esports.
Oo.
Dapat sa Omega okay yun eh. Dapat sa Omega talaga nagkaroon ng pabor or advantage. But the thing is, the double kill made it worth it for the side of BREN Esports. And from there, nagkaroon na sila ng problema. Hindi na nila alam ngayon kung saan sila pipwesto. Map control is out of their hands.
Hindi na talaga nila makontrol ang mapa dito dahil si Curl PC, hindi niya rin nga nakita nandun sa ilalim ng damo. May sipa pang magagana pero habol dito ang BREN Esports. Di pa sila umihinto. And ito na, Butters. Unti-unti nang nauubos ang mga inhibitor turrets dito ng Omega. And look at Carl TC, how of him na makapag-farm just taking the turtle on his own.
Alam mo, men, yung nilalaro nila ngayon, para sila nag-aamong us eh.
Oo.
Kung sino makita ng BREN Esports, diretso, impostor!
Oo.
Impostor to! Sipain nyo! Impostor!
Oo. I-vote na agad to.
I-vote na agad to.
Hindi magaling magsinungaling.
Shoutout kay Prof B, hindi mahuli.
Yun ang hindi ko talaga mahuli. Grabe yung tropa natin na yan, si Prof D. Pero yun na nga, ito, pero kung speaking of nahuli, Kenji, dito mga kaibigan, nahuli na naman. Look at the blazing duet. The damage doon kay Loyi, almost killing the support ng Omega Esports. Man, this is already massacre talaga para sa side ng Omega. Tuloy-tuloy yung aggression. The snowball effect dito ng BREN Esports, sobrang hirap.
Hindi alam ni Ribo yon. But Ribo, he did a great job kahit papano na-delay niya yung pag-uwi. Kahit papano
Kahit
ng
hindi
onte
niya
ni
alam.
Haji. Kahit hindi niya alam. He wasn't aware of it. But napigilan niya kahit onte yung pag-uwi dito ni Haji. And Haji, he's doing the right play. Naniniwala ako na yun yung mga bagay na dapat ginagawa mo sa mga ganito stage ng game. Try to get a turret kasi kahit papano, get some leverage. Hatakin mo yung sarili mo pataas, get some goal.
Kumbaga, ang ano dito ng Omega Esports is that kailangan pag-reactin na lang natin. That damage, Butters! Paano mo pahihintuin ang ganong klase ng damage dito ng Claude? Claude is back into the meta, mga kaibigan.
And they're really strong at playing these kinds of heroes.
Yun na nga, sobrang lakas. Pero to be honest, no, yung ginagawang ultimate dito ng Chango, talagang sobrang anxiety ang binibigay dito sa Omega. Kumbaga, ang sakit sobra nung damage ng Chango. All throughout, lahat dito from the BREN Esports and well-farmed, tuloy-tuloy, blazing duet na naman, tunti-unti nang napapanis or nawawalan ng mga buhay dito ang Omega Esports. This is a well-deserved win sa game number 1 if ever BREN Esports take this game.
And it's looking that way, Rob. Mukhang sila na nga talaga makakuha dito. 2 turrets down. It's not even Lord Face. 8 minutes into the game. Well, 7:57. 7:57 lang.
Oh my God, that win. I'm not sure if this can be the quickest win here on the MPL, but definitely that was one for the books, mga kaibigan. What upwards talaga ako how BREN Esports made that win on Omega Esports. But still, game number 1 pa lang to, mga tol.
It's only game number 1. Marami pang pwede mangyari. Marami pang adjustments na pwede gawin dito si Omega. But the thing about it is, 7:57, it's one of those games na parang kailangan mabawi ng Omega yung confidence nila agad ASAP. Kasi yun yung mga mahihirap na talo paminsan. Kapag hindi ka nakalaban. But there are those losses din na kapag binigay mo lahat at nagawa mo lahat, medyo mas nakaka-demoralize pa. But I think for Omega, nakita nila na may Claude na tinatago tong BREN. And I think it's safe to say, mga kaibigan, na Claude is back.
Yes, Claude is back. Yung mga epic skin nyo dyan, hindi na siya maitatago dahil magagamit nyo na naman.
May Mecha Dragon ka, di ba?
Oo, the Mecha Dragon. Yung mga, meron pa yung parang nasa beach ka na skin. I forgot kung ano yun eh. Pero yun na, grabe. That game number 1 really set the tone nitong ng week number 2 natin for day number 1. Pero of course, marami pa tayong maririnig kung ano nga ba talaga ang nangyari on that game number 1 as Wolf will let you know. I'll give you a complete analysis.
Thanks so much, ating makers. And let's try and analyze this very, very quick game and dominant one coming out from BREN Esports. We did say that this will go down the wire when it comes to drafting, when it comes to showing us yung mga picks na hindi na natin nakikita sa meta what a treat it is. I like the development of the draft. Even yung mga bans natin coming out from the teams. I like also na nakuha dito yung Claude. If you don't know, kung na-miss mo yung draft, Uranus was first picked from BREN Esports, and it kind of allowed us to have that Claude to parang gumanda yung kanyang status sa ating laban. Bakit? Kasi hindi na siya ganun ka-problemado. If you're looking at the lineup of Omega, sino ba magiging problema lang sa Claude? I honestly think only the Hilda when it comes to dealing damage, and of course the control coming out from the Joed because of that knockup. But aside from that, there's not much that can actually contest etong Claude natin when it comes to farming and when it comes to killing in the team fights. And obviously, the napakabilis na ating laban na hindi tayo masyado pwedeng mag-focus dun sa items. One last thing lang na gusto kong sabihin is Few, after picking up this mask, we can honestly say that Few is now playing as a support, quote-unquote support for BREN Esports. Well, he did not pick up the mask as early as possible. Hindi siya yung instant na kapag kakuha ni Lusty, kinuha niya agad. I think maybe Few nakuha pa niya fast na yung second mask ng BREN Esports, which allowed Few to be, how do I say this, very impactful in the early game team fights. Now, let's look at the additional stats natin na post-game. And you can notice how impactful nga yung stat line dito ni Few. Kasi eventually, you're gonna notice the damage output coming out from Few is actually incredibly high. You can see this. Although kay Cartesi, majority ng ating damage as a support, when you're dealing as this much against your opponents, you already know na impactful ka as a support. And we may see a lot of support mages all throughout our MPL Season 6. Although last week naman, madami na tayo nakitang support mages, and even last season, ngayon makikita tayo ng variety. Like, we are gonna see Chang-O for sure. Louis is there. Meron kang makikitang mga Farsa lang na naban sila. Cyclops even, di ba? Nababan na siya mismo. Farsa, I think, is top priority for the teams. And BREN Esports showed us a little bit of change-up, showing us this Chang-O in a supporting role. Now, Omega side, nahirapan din sila sa early game just because of the damage output na meron ang BREN. If you're looking at their lineup, very good sana yung kanilang early game individually, but you put them all together against the lineup of BREN Esports, doon na tayo nagkakaroon ng problema. Maybe we can see during the highlights what I want to mention about their strength in the team fights. I want to say a little bit of pause here. A lot of emphasis wala sa BREN Esports into dealing damage even in the laning stage pala. Nakita nyo, nagbubuo sila ng skills para nga naman ma-zone out yung kalaban, and look at that flicker coming out from the Uranus. So much emphasis on the early game damage. So, I always talk about early game damage as important kasi kanina din na nung inaaral namin yung playstyle ng BREN Esports, ang laki nung emphasis nila sa pagpapababa ng HP ng kalaban, even when it's just the laning stage. Minsan nga, kung mapapansin nyo, bakit hindi nakakapag-invade or hindi nakakuha ng buffs ang isang team, it's majority because of the fact na yung HP nila hindi na ganun kataas as compared to the start of the match. And I think BREN Esports eventually have abused this factor. Omega, when they didn't have that much control of the first round of buffs, doon na lumakas yung strength ng BREN Esports in the early stages. No, why did I write this up? Because again, emphasis of BREN Esports. In the fight that we saw between BREN Esports and Omega, walang big team fights na nangyari. Walang parang 5v5 na sobrang lupit doon sa kung saan marami na silang items going up against each other and trying to outplay. The outplay mula sa BREN Esports started in the early stages. And honestly, we can see more from this from BREN Esports. If we're looking at Omega, I think yun yung kailangan nila i-fix dito laban sa BREN. Kasi tapos na yung sa drafting. Kaya na nila yun eh. Omega, as well as BREN Esports, very good when it comes to drafting. But when, if Omega really wants to win in come game number 2 and first sa game 3, kailangan nila i-fix yan. Girl TZ 4-0 and 5 are MVP of the game with this Claude. Napakaaga niya nakuha yung machete, and then obviously nakuha niya yung Demon Hunter Sword. At nung nakuha na niya yung Demon Hunter Sword, Esmeralda, Hilda wasn't a problem anymore. Dahil yung damage output niya, napakataas na. Tapos, yung mapapansin natin, actually, for me personally, what I noticed between, sa mga teams natin is yung mga MVP of the matches from the last weekend and in the game 1 of week number 2, laging 0 deaths or at least 1 death, di ba, on our MVPs. And you're gonna ask, except Raflesha by the way, but it kinda tells us na siguro yung pag-funnel ng mga teams natin ngayon is hindi na lang focus ngayon sa pagbigay ng items but also protecting carries very much. And even though we can say na yung mga carries natin ay mas careful na sila for MPL Season 6 for the meta that we'll play right now, it's also because of the fact that the teammates work around the carries even more now. At least that's what I noticed, and it's pretty evident in this game. This is a Claude na alam natin na hindi na ganun kalakas when it comes to matching up against the Ling. That's our lesson from MPL Season 5. Pero bakit siya nag-work ng MPL Season 6? Why? Well, the answer is because of the teammates then. Yung play na ginagawa ng Claude will really put Claude back in the meta. Anyways, there's a lot more to talk about, and game number 2 is incoming. So why don't we bring it back to the casters? Back to you guys.
Yes, so much has to say doon nga about doon sa Claude Butters. And yeah, I think it's safe to say that Claude is back into the meta dahil sa major patch na meron tayo ngayon sa MPL, which is the 10 hero ban. What do you think? Bukang mag-give birth tayo into certain heroes no? Talaga na hindi natin usually nakikita during the 6 hero ban. Pero ngayon, 10 hero ban, make way.
Yeah, I think isa din sa mga factors yun kung bakit nakabalik si Claude. I mean, these teams or the coaches are trying to be as creative as possible. Kumbaga, hindi lang basta alam mo yun, makapasok ng hero. Kasi kailangan din nila ng extra heroes talaga dito just in case na mabasa talaga sila nung kalaban nila. And yun yung isa sa mga nakikita kung saan talaga malakas si hero si ganito, kung saan malakas na hero si ganyan. So, it's more on the idea of just leaving your options open. And for BREN dito, they saw the little buff na nilagay dito kay Claude. Nakita nila na mayroong potential. That was the same thing na ni-nerf dati kay Claude that made him, sabihin natin, not playable sa competitive scene. Pero nilang inangat ng onte, they made the most out of it and they won that game perfectly.
Ramdam na ramdam. Talaga doon yung Claude Carl TC. Pero something to note then in terms of that match is Flap TC. I mean, what do you think about his gameplay during that match? I mean, aside from being, I mean, yun doon sa mismong lane niya, okay siya. Pero, what do you think about his rotation? No, so, ginawa niya doon. Kumbaga parang, ang nangyayari doon sa matchup nila ni Kenji, lagi niyang iniiwan si Kenji sa top lane.
The thing is, si Kenji kasi dito was the jawhead. So, you really have to think about the pushing capability ng katapat mo and nadim ni Thams or ni Flap na hindi siya ganun kabilis mag-push. At ang ginagawa usually kasi dito ni Flap, bago siya umikot, bago siya mag-rotate dun sa may mid, sino-shove niya muna yung lane. Kumbaga, pinupush niya muna yung lane papunta dun sa torre ni Kenji to the point na, alam mo yun, para mahirapan lang si Kenji mag-push. Kasi kung gagamitin niya yung homing missiles, it wouldn't really be enough yung yung mana niya to actually sustain the lane against Flap kapag bumalik siya. So, yun yung pinapakita lang dun ni Flap. The mastery and knowing your matchup.
Totoo.
So, it's more on the idea na ang ganda ng setup na binibigay nila kay Flap dito, and Flap being the youngest member, probably the youngest member of the team right now. I mean, in terms of being in BREN ESPORTS, he's actually adapting to the playstyle ng BREN ESPORTS dito. He knows what to do, and yung na mga bagay na ginagawa ng BREN ESPORTS, nalalaman niya, and he puts it in play.
Totoo yan. Sobrang grabe ng performance talaga doon ni Flap TC, even into the rotation. Well, so much to talk about the lineup, I mean, the head-to-head nung Jawhead and as well ng Tamus. Pero, eto, ang ganda ng ban dito ng Omega. I mean, banning the show here is somehow denying a hero na ginagamit dito ng Season 6 for Lusty. And of course, the Atlas will not be there. Probably pa ba tayo ng Kufra ban dito or magpa-prioritize ng tank dito. Of course, Hito was one of the best Kufra users dito sa ating liga. What do you think, Butters?
It is a possibility for BREN ESPORTS to, not ban it out. Kasi feeling ko at this point, kung hindi mo talaga bibigyan ng priority yung Kufra dito ng Omega sa simula pa lang and you chose the Atlas, wag mo na ibigay. Wag mo na ibigay yung wag mo na i-ban yung Kufra at the same point pa lang. So, I like the ban on Atlas. Atlas has been nerfed a bit. Yung perfect match niya, yung ejected state, kapag ka nag-close sila, it's not a 0.2 stun. Nagiging slow na siya.
Totoo.
So it's a 40% slow. And that's that's actually a huge nerf. Kasi kung iisipin mo, yung Purify setup mo, kung ayaw mahuli ng Fatal Links, usually, napipindot yun dun pa lang sa may perfect match pa lang kapag ka nagsanib para mawala lang yung stun at makatakas ka. Pero right now, hindi na ganun yung nangyayari. May slow na and you can actually get away with yung Fatal Links na.
Oo, totoo naman. Pero still viable. Like, yun nga, binan pa rin nila dito yung Kufra, giving Omega-PH for what's gonna be their first pick. That's the Yuzong. Well, di ba napag-usapan din natin kanina that Yuzong is S-tier din siya in terms of being on side lane. Even on mid lane, pwede rin siyang gawing funnel.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised na BREN Esports gave out the Yuzong.
Yeah.
Na parang, parang alam mo yun, mas safe na mag-iwan ng Kufra kesa ng Yuzong. Pero ang sabi nila, sige, bigay mo yung Yuzong kasi makukuha natin yung Uranus at saka yung Farsa.
The Farsa, no? Oo,
It's drafting patterns. Ito nga sinasabi natin dito, Rob. This is the drafting patterns na nagagawa ng 10-ban setup. It's really new. Ang bago niya tignan, men.
Saka ano din kung iisipin mo dito, parang willing ibigay dito nga ng BREN dito si Yuzong just to get, I think, it's not only the Uranus pick, probably yung Farsa rin kasi, as we all know naman, nung nakita natin, even on week number 1, kahit sinong magamit ng Farsa, ang laki ng chance nilang manalo. Diba? Like what we've said kanina, Farsa is one of the best supports dito sa laro natin ng Mobile Legends.
Pushing shoving capability, kaya niya mag-push, kaya niya mag-defend, feathered airstrike, napaka-safe na skill. Don't even have to get into their faces kahit nandun ka lang sa area. May mga times kapag nasa likod ka ng torre, hindi ka na nila susugurin kasi alam nila, liliparan mo lang din sila.
Oo. Tsaka, well, ito pala, Butters. Excited ako dito sa one-eye support natin na to Si Cyclops. I mean, it's been used by Haste on week number 1, the Ender match against Blacklist International. And sobrang ganda. Ganda nung, hindi pa natin nakikita masyado yung full na pwedeng ibigay ng isang Cyclops. Pero sobrang annoying niyan sa Clash. Tapos to the point minsan na pag hindi mo naman siya pinansin, yung damage niya, parang kang sinisip-sip yung HP mo nung nung second skill niya. I forgot actually the name of that was Planet's Attack. The Planet's Attack.
Alam mo, kahapon nakalaban natin yan.
Oo.
Nakalaban natin yan. Anong sinabi mo? Okay, yung buhay ng Cyclops bumalik dahil sa concentrated energy. As in, literally, binaburst down siya ng mga kasama namin. Binaburst down siya sila nila Manjin, nila Wolf. Tapos bigla nagreklamo sila bigla. Pre, yung buhay ng Cyclops bumalik.
Ayaw mamatay.
Yung concentrated energy, ayaw mamatay.
Oo, yun lang talaga. Concentrated energy. Grabe tong hero na to. Pero, yeah, so much to say. And ang maganda pa dito, I mean, on this ultimate dito na Cyclops, he could be able to, I mean, proper timing of course pa rin naman. Kasi may mga pang-cancel kasi ng skill itong si Carl TC, which is probably siya yung gagamit dito ng Lancelot.
Alam mo, para sa mga bagong viewers natin na nanonood dyan, na baka medyo, alam mo, kakastart pa lang manood ng MPL for Season 6. Ito po yung tinatawag nating drafting stage.
Yes.
Where you actually ban out heroes na ayaw mo makita sa kalaban and you pick the heroes na gusto mo para sa side mo. So, this is like a chess match. Kumbaga, sa chess kasi, di ba, usually it's a game of setups. Parang i-set up mo yung sarili mo for this move. At kapag hindi nakita ng kalaban mo, you just punish them. Sabihin natin, you just punish them very hard. So, sabi dito ng ganun yung pinaka-thought ng drafting.
Totoo. Meron akong gustong quote na sinabi dito ng kaibigan natin, si Midnight. Sabi niya dito is, etong drafting phase, meron tong invisible war na nangyayari in between coaches. Na hindi nyo nakikita, pero yung utak nila, doon yung naglalaban in terms of, kasi most of the time yung mga players kasi, they just want to play the game. Kumbaga, as much as possible, hindi na sila nag-i-input. Probably, konting ito siguro pwede. Pero, ang pinaka talaga na gumagawa nitong draft na to, of course, it's the coaches itself. And pag yung burden na yon inilagay mo pa sa isang player, sometimes, mahirap na siya. Though, it's workable kasi, of course, during our normal rank games, nagagawa naman natin siya. Pero, this is a professional league. This is MPL. Lahat dito nagmamatter. Even the slightest stress na pwede mong ibigay sa players is as much as possible, matanggal mo and put it all that sa mga coaches. Kaya sobrang ako sa mga coaches. Sobrang down ako talaga sa kanila.
And Etong mga drafting na nakikita nyo ngayon, this is a matter of just getting, sabihin na natin, the statistics for these heroes, and Angela picked for the side of Omega.
Kenji.
This is probably a core, Angela.
Meron tayong I forgot kung sino yung nagsalita nun kanina, yung in terms of the strategy na pinangka-counter nila. I think that was Wolf eh.
Oo.
Na sinabi niya yung counter on the specific funnel or sa ganun is the Angela. Diba?
Kapag kami, yung ano nila, sabihin natin, if a team really gives emphasis on going to the top lane and taking down yung turret ng maaga just to get map control, that's the time when Angela goes to the top lane, sasanib siya with the heart guard and just clears the wave. Yun yung naging thought process ni Wolf doon, kaya niya nasabi na baka yun yung counter.
Oo.
It is a possibility, but tingnan natin kung paano lalaroin dito ng Omega.
Oo.
Yung Angela, I'm just happy na ginamit yan ni Kenji kasi siya nagpasimula talaga niyan.
Totoo.
Nung season 5. BREN Esports dito, they do not have the Esmeralda even though that it wasn't really banned. Gatot is there. Tingnan natin kung paano aayusin ng BREN Esports yung problema nila dito. Angeling combination. Angeling.
Tingnan natin kung magaling. No? Rhyming schemes, dong. Pero anyway, guys, iniisip ko dito, no? Angela with Cyclops, 2 squishy heroes. Kumbaga, most of the time, that's gonna be a 4v5 kasi the Angela will use his ultimate on the Yuzong or as well, most of the time, feeling ko sa Yuzong siya papasok eh. Then, the Ling, ang target niya is gonna be the back lanes, of course. So, that leaves the Cyclops all alone. Kasi si Hit, most of the time, hindi naman siya yung tipo ng tank, or I mean, fighter siya. I mean, tank lang yung role niya. Na pwede kanyang tulungan like mang zone eh. Diba? So, that leaves the Cyclops na vulnerable. So, that's where tricky. Yung gusto ko malaman kung how haste pa naman yung gagamit, how he will be able. So, most likely, mas aggressive yata ang gagawin dito ng Omega. What do you think, Butters, sa lineup na to?
I feel that the safe way to do this, the safe way to approach this is have a poke composition or poke strategy. Ano ibig sabihin ng poke strategy? It's more on the idea na hindi talaga kayo lumalaban head on. Parang kumukuha lang kayo ng pitas, hinahanap nyo lang kung sino yung mga misposition at yun lang yung tinitake down nyo. And that's it. Hindi pipilit ng laban nandito ng rekta. Siguro pagka dumating yung mid-game at naging okay sa kanila, baka dun pwede silang humarap. Pero Haze dito, as we all know, this guy just has to position well. Yun lang naman yung kailangan gawin ng Cyclops eh. Huwag siya papahuli ng buhay.
Totoo, wag siya papahuli ng buhay. Pero kung iisipin mo rin dito, in terms of damage, I would definitely lean towards dito sa Omega Esports. Why? Scaling kasi, even itong support na to. Though, Farsa naman, nagiging damage din siya on the later stages of the game. I think, what do you think in terms of this sa dalawa na to, Butters? Itong Cyclops over Farsa, in terms of damage,
you would have to go for Farsa. Just because of the coverage na meron si Farsa. Sabihin natin, yes, mas mataas yung scaling ng damage si Cyclops. Pero that's solely because the reason na single target halos lahat ng skills niya. And pwede naman siya maging AoE. But in a way, kailangan kasi sobrang dikit-dikit na nila nun. And nasa kalaban mo na yun kung gagawin nila. Pero kasi si Farsa kasi ang ginagawa naman niya in terms of damage output, dinidivide niya sa lahat eh.
Oo. Saka yung yung single target damage dito ng Omega Esports, sobrang sakit even from the tank itself, of course, dito si Hit. Pero dito na yata yung unang magaganap. Medyo masakit. Kenji, medyo nanganganib. Hindi pa siya level 4 dito, mga tol. Pero dun sa may bandang likod, zone out lang sila ni Hit. That was Lusty on the PNK. And
you would look at it in a way na Omega dito is finding their groove kahit papano. Kurtzy actually punishing Flapsy. Si Few, alam mo, dalawang naglalaban dito sa baba eh.
Oo nga eh. To be honest, ito yung the TC Brothers na laban eh. Sino bang mas malakas, di ba? Sila Haji C o sila Carl TC? Kung nakita ko nga sa post yun ni Manjin eh. Pick your poison eh.
Pick your poison. Pakiramdam ko pick your Z.
Pick your Z. Pwede naman. Oo. Pero ito na, mga tol. Well, this is a much slower game compared to game number 1 wherein nag-snowball ang BREN Esport and probably mukhang makakakita na tayo talaga ng laban dito in between these two teams.
And I think it's because of the fact din na maganda yung drafting ng gitna ngayon ng side ng Omega. They didn't really put sabihin natin, like kanina, yung mga heroes sila that didn't really have any damage or stunts. Ngayon, may punish sila eh, katulad nito.
Oh, yun na yung punish na yun. Pero nakapag-flicker out pa rin naman doon si Fuse sa may bandang likod. Pero Lusty, hindi siya magiging maswerte. Pero mukhang nahabol pa nila yung nagte-teleport na Farsa doon sa may backlanes. Pero nandito naman si Ribo just to save the day. Kenji, nawala na yung sinaniban but still gonna be getting out on that skirmish sa may gandang gitna. And I guess Omega Esports did making a very good match dito sa game number 2.
Okay, it's all about setups. Cards dito will try to get away. Dating magkampi.
Oo.
Hinambalos ni Hit yung dating yung kampi.
Totoo. Saan ka pupunta? Nandito pa naman. Buti na lang hindi siya doon namatay. Pero ang mamamatay, Flap TC, still gonna live doon sa may palakol. Grabe yung axe dito ni Hit. No? I mean, the damage from the Hilda, kanina yun din yung naging reason kung bakit sila nag-snowball yung BREN, di ba? Sa game number 1. Kasi they almost had, I think that was few. Pero dito on game number 2, mas ramdam mo rito si Hit.
The thing is, nung game number 1 kasi is they didn't really have the best setup. I mean, yung Omega doon, they collapsed in the middle lane pa lang. As early as 2 minutes, as early as the first minute of the game, nagkaroon na agad sila ng problema. Ngayon, si Haji, I think this is a much better game for him considering na nakakuha siya ng kill.
Totoo naman. Pero ito, the Feathered Airstrike will be used. But Flap PC, medyo nabura yata siya doon ng Yuzhong. Pero nandito na yung Dragon. Saiha, tinawag na dito. Sa may bandang likod ako, Carl TC, medyo nanganganib. But the turtle has been stealed by Carl TC. Pero Rebo, Avatar of the Guardian, just to get out. Pero sabi dito ni GC, hindi kita patatakasin. Dong! Into the backlanes. May lamang nagaganap. Haze, buburahin muna dito ni Carl TC. And that's gonna be it, mga kaibigan. That's a 1-for-1 exchange. Tingin ko, lumamang doon ng BREN Esports just by having that turtle.
This is Kartzi saying hi.
Oo.
Sa mga dati niyang mga teammates.
Totoo.
Kamusta, Kenji? Kamusta, Haji? Kamusta, Kenji?
Oo.
Kamusta, Haze?
Kamusta na kayo, tol?
Kamusta na kayo, tol?
eto-
Eto ako. Ito yung pinag-practicean ko ng sobrang tagal.
Oo, grabe. Grabe. Carl TC's performance dito, I mean, from game number 1, dala pa rin dito from game number 2. Something talaga to note dito. Pero the Feather Airstrike will be there just to zone out the rest of Omega Esports. Carl TC, still, grabe yung laban. Well, it's still gonna be a back and forth, mga kaibigan. 50-50 pa lang. I mean, in terms of goal, 200 lang ang difference. Pero ito, flicker out from Hit, and takas na siya dito. Now, we're already heading into the mid-game, Butters.
Alam mo, going into the mid-game, I would say that BREN Esports has a certain amount of lead in terms of the map control na pinapakita nila, objective control. Kasi hindi, tinan mo, kung yung ginagawa dito ni Lance, nandiyo sa may bottom, kinukuha niya lang yung mga jungle monsters dito ng side ng Omega. And Omega doesn't really have an answer to that. Kung sino yung nawalan ng turret sa baba, sila pa yung may lakas ng loob mag-invade dun sa kabila.
Oo nga eh.
It rhymes.
It really rhymes. Pero yun nga, like what Butter said kasi, on the early stages of the game kasi, the mid lane is yung pinaka-importante aside from the side lane. Oo. Pero yun nga, bakit ganon yung nangyari? Tas sila pa nga yung mas nagiging aggressive. Look at the damage. Feather Airstrike. I don't think na mamamatay dito si Curry TC. Nag-aabang doon si Hit sa may bandang likod. Dito lumalamang ang ang BREN Esports, no, Butters. Yung tipong lipad-lipad lang nung Farsa, papunta siyang top lane, pagka merong laban sa gitna, doon naman ako sa gitna. Yung mobility itself ng isang Farsa and the damage na binibigay ng ulti niya.
Pero alam mo na naman dito, priority ng ulti na binibigay sa kanya, Haji nalaglag. Nalaglag sa bakuran. Anong ginagawa mo?
Nahulog pa nga doon. Pero yun na nga, yung turtle mawawala. Kasama na doon ang buhay. Doon ni Hit, may sunod pang laban. Mag-isa dito, Curtis, doon nakasanib sa kanya dito yung Angela. I don't think nakakayanin doon. So may bandang likod. That's Flap TC zoning out. Napilitan siya mag-flicker out. Masyado ka na yatang malalim, Uranus. Pero the damage will not be enough. Curtis, kalaban si Carl TZ. Grabe naman tong laban na to. Dito tayo matututo talagang mag-rhyme, no?
Oo.
Puro Z kasi lahat ng mabibitaw mong salita, eh.
Alam mo, Rob, hindi ko naman masisisi.
Oo.
Yung Omega dito, kung bakit nagkakaroon talaga sila ng problema. Look at Popol dito and look at Lusty and Rebo, yung performance sila dito on how they actually go in dito sa mapa ng kalaban.
Totoo.
Defense check, Rebo punishes a lot of the pick-offs na ginagawa ng Omega. Kaya hindi mo din masasabi na totally panalo yung Omega kapag nakakuha sila ng kills. Kasi the mere fact na nandun si Rebo para mag-clean up para sa team niya, napakalaking bagay nun.
Oo, malaki talagang bagay. I mean, yung in terms of minion wave clear talaga, laging nauunahan ng BREN Esports dito ang Omega.
Oy!
Oh!
Tinamaan ng
Grabe.
cursed helmet.
Oo. Akalain mo yon. Pero dito, yung dragon ni Kurt TZ, sino nga kaya? Gaya mo nagsabi na may magsisisi. Yun na nga, dito sa may bandang likod, Flap TC pa din. Medyo sino-zone out the rest of the Omega Esports, mga kaibigan. Unti-unti na naman na kinukuha ng BREN Esports ang mapa sa Omega Esports.
Dalawa sa kanila ang may cursed helmet, if I'm not mistaken. Looking at the aura sa baba nila. And mind you, meron din dito si Lusty, kung hindi ako nagkakamali. And sa totoo lang, si Popol din meron.
Oo nga, no?
So dalawa yan. So as long as nakalapit dyan, yung mga kalaban, there is a negation.
Labanan pala to ng first helmet,
Oo.
Paul.
Tinan mo, kumuha na nga din si Heath.
Oo,
Nakasama
sabi niya,
pre, uso uso to
Uso to. Ito,
Pwede.
this is the item of the the meta ngayon, sa 10 hero ban. Kuha nga tayong curse helmet.
And to be honest, it's a good item for both of the teams.
Yes, definitely.
There are two things that you should consider kapag kukuha ka ng cursed helmet. It's more on the idea na hindi, yung kay Popol pala, yung puso pa lang, yung molten heart. Yung molten heart pa lang. So umangat dito si Gatot. Well, Gatot is still Gatot. Kumbaga siya core siya.
To be honest, just to butt in, sorry. Mahilig si Lusty sa ganyang klase ng mga build. Yung alam mo yung kinukuha nila yung ingredient. Parang naalala ko siya dati sa Hylos. Kinukuha niya lang yung bilog na kulay blue, I forgot the name, doon sa Clock of Destiny. Tapos kukunin niya yung molten core lang.
Yung elegant gem.
Oo, yung elegant gem. Ganon mag-item build si Lusty. Pero Kenji dito mabubura from the side of Mega Esports. Wow. BREN Esports looking very strong dito sa ating patch ng 10 hero ban, mga kaibigan.
Paano ba pinapalambot ang meat?
Pinapakuluan?
Pinapakuluan? Ano pa ginagawa? Pinapalo-palo.
Oo.
Yan yung ginagawa nila ngayon.
Tenderizer.
Pinapalo-palo talaga nila dito.
Oo, grabe yung pagpalo. May kasama dong ibon sa likod. Courtesy dito, bin zone out na naman dito by BREN Esports. At was that Odil?
Si Lemon nata.
Si Lemon. Okay, oo. Tinitignan sino ba yung nandun. Lagi ko kasi siyang nakikita Pero to, the zone out coming from the avatar of the Guardian just to show away the rest of Omega Esports, mga kaibigan. Habol sila. Gitna dito, basag na. He's still will not live another day doon, mga kaibigan. 2-man down para sa side ng Omega Esports. And now, BREN Esports dito, having a complete lead sa laban na to, Butters.
Clearly, Rob, nakikita naman natin dito kahit pumikit ka pa. At nakikinig mo lang ngayon yung siege na ginagawa ng BREN Esports, you would know that they're in the lead. Pero the thing is, may magagawa pa ba dito yung Omega? I think this is a really gargantuan task para sa side nila. Pero still, BREN Esports dito, hindi na sila magkakamali They're just really in it to win it.
Totoo yun. They're really in it to win it because dito si Heat medyo mababack out and yan, ubus na lahat ang tier 3 turrets dito ng BREN Esports. Still, they're respecting dito Omega PH on this well, they still can wait naman. Nandito pa naman yung Lord. And this makes going back dun sa drafting board na that's the reason why they are willing to give the Yuzhong. Because the Farsa, it's much worth it. Diba? Kasi kita-kita natin dito, though walang kill dito yung Farsa, nakikita mo kung ano yung gamit ng yung support nila to in terms of being a utility on the whole team. Talagang even pag zone out dun sa the rest Pero dito, looks like Haji doing a Hail Mary play para manakaw dito ang Lord para sa side ng BREN Esports. Ang tanong, magiging successful kaya dito si Haji? Wala na siya halos buhay.
Ito yung tinatawag natin, they're pretty much aware of it at this point. Haji, nahuli siya dun sa may likod, pero would it really matter? Yes, it will. Cardzi!
Minute to win it. Pero ito na nga, mga kaibigan, Courtesy might be going down as well sa kamay ni Carl TZ. Few getting a kill doon sa may backlane, and this might be it. A wipeout for the side of Omega Esports. And that, of course, the teleportation signature ng BREN Esports will still be there because they already won that match. What a spectacular performance. 2-0 para sa BREN Esports.
Clearly, Rob, nakikita natin dito why BREN Esports right now is a really strong team. Lahat ng lanes sila ngayon enabled. Alam nila kung paano gawin yung mga roles nila. They know how to pinpoint kung ano yung dapat nilang gawin. And with the guidance of their coaching staff, I just feel that madami pa tayong dapat i-expect dito sa BREN Esports. Omega, that wasn't really a bad performance. It's just that, sabihin na lang natin, meron talagang factor kasi yung 10-ban setup na tinatawag natin dito na you just have to be prepared. And probably, sabihin na lang natin dito, this is the execution ng BREN and their understanding, yung pag-adapt nila, pag-adjust nila dun sa lahat ng ginawa dito sa patch na to, and they just beat Omega with that.
Totoo. To be honest, we cannot be able to blame any teams dito, lalo na itong first day Kasi sila yung parang talasihan ng buong liga natin kung how will they perform. And of course, BREN Esports did outmaneuvered on this specific series ang Omega Esports. Pero we'll be seeing more of these teams, mga kaibigan, and sobrang excited ako na marinig kung ano yung mga sasabihin pa ni Wolf. And of course, sa mga kaibigan natin dyan online, hopefully you shared our streams aganap dito because we still have a second series to watch that's in between Blue Fire and EXECRATION.
So madami pang mangyayari dito, and I'm just excited kung paano pa magpa-pan out tong 10-ban setup natin, Rob.
Kumbaga, hindi lang sa palaliman Pero yeah, like what Vince said, mga kaibigan, we would like to hear more about what happened on this series dahil ito na ang ating pinakamalupit na analysis. That's gonna be Wolf. Take it away.
Thanks so much, casters. And that was Dom once again mula sa BREN Esports fielding their Lancelot this time against Omega. And it really went one-sided talaga. All facets of the game. Even when it comes to the draft, you can see na may mga outlier na lamang ang BREN Esports dito over their matchup, which is Omega. And I cannot say na out-draft or anything ang Omega dito. But what we can say is that there are really a lot of ways para gumalaw ang BREN Esports, I'd say. So, kunwari, if we're looking at Omega, they are very dependent on their Angela as well as their Hilda to really amplify itong kanilang lineup. And you're looking at an Angela na core, by the way. This is not a support Angela. What the support is, the additional Cyclops. So, if you're looking at their lineup, siguro ang idea nila dito is to execute their opponents with their Ling as well as their Hilda na merong bonus na factor. Tapos yung taga-whittle down sana ng kanilang kalaban ng damage, ng deal ng damage is your Cyclops as well as your Angela in the form of magic damage. However, you can see that the itemization from BREN Esports really hampered the damage output of Omega. Not only that, hindi din ganun kabilis ang burst potential ng Omega when it comes to the team fights against BREN. Bakit? Kasi if you're looking at BREN's lineup, you have Farsa, you have Lancelot, meron kang Uranus, and Popol, ito yung mga heroes na hindi dependent sa kanilang ultimates. In fact, ban at any given time. So, maybe if we can see the next stats that we are looking at, the actual in-game stats, makikita natin yung difference when it comes to the damage output. I don't know if you can see this very clearly, pero yung numbers pa lang, mga kaibigan, when we're looking at the damage output of the members of BREN Esports compared to Omega, napakalaki nung nakikita natin mula sa BREN. And you're gonna wonder, bakit nga ba? The draft of Omega isn't that bad. Hindi ganun kasama. Pero bakit hindi ganun ka-impactful yung mga nagawa nila? Well, it's only because of the fact that they're so dependent on their ultimates. While it's true na yung fleeting time ni Angela dito ay mabilis na nakuha, hindi rin ganun ka maaasahan ang lineup na Omega kasi kinakailangan nila maghintay na kanila mga ultimates like the Dragon form. Kailangan nilang pagsabay-sabayin para lang makalaban sa BREN. While BREN's lineup, you're looking at it, kahit kailan pwedeng lumaban. And by the way, Rebo played this well. I think na isa sa mga standout na gatot catcher na nakikita ko, lagi nahuhuli yung Ling. And of course, the superstar Trigal mula kay Cartesi. Maybe if we see the highlights later, makikita natin kung gaano kalupit ang performance si Cartesi dito. And there's so many outlays actually. And all throughout this game, na ginamit pa nga niya at a certain point yung Thorn Throws to dodge some of the deadly attacks na mula sa Omega. And Omega started this strong, however, BREN Esports, look at that. Look at that play coming out from Rebo, lagi na huli. And the Turtle, nice play coming out from TZ as well, using the full kit of a Lancelot. Something that really you have to take note if you want to learn the Lancelot. Ganto po kumilos talaga. Sobrang sulit ng bawat dash. You know when you're to go in or to not go. And lagi din yung retribution niya dito on point onto securing those buffs, which is very important for me on the performance of BREN Esports. To be honest with you guys, there's not much to see after those early highlights dahil alam natin that this is one-sided in favor of BREN Esports. And we can attribute that to a very good start as well as the fact that BREN Esports, each player, alam nila yung role nila. For example, they know that they need few to deal the damage and the added vision coming out from the feathered airstrike. Diba pag nag-feathered airstrike ka, may extra vision ka. You also get that from the avatar of the Guardian coming out from Rebo, and they made perfect use of it. And Carl TZ, alam niya yung kanyang limitation as a hero. In fact, he did not die at this point. Once again, going for this boots, the tough boots, if I'm not mistaken, yung tawag sa kanya, but it's anti-magic, which is the, sinabi natin kanina, di ba, yung source ng damage output ng Omega in the early stage of the game. Not only that, it allowed him to play more confidently dahil may konting crowd control, may resistance against crowd control itong boots na to. That's why ang ganda ng napili dito na itemization ni Cartize. And you can really honestly say na ang taas talaga ng in-game knowledge ng mga batang to. And the last, I would say, na ginawa ng BREN Esports dito is to activate their superstar trigger. All honesty, may potential talaga si Curtizy, for example, or si Ajizi na maging malupit at magbakitang gilas, mag-superstar mode din para sa Omega. Pero hindi natin nakikita yun. For the past days of Omega, I guess the homework for them is to find their superstar trigger. Dahil pag ginawa na to, katulad ng ginagawa ng BREN Esports with Curtizy, they will be successful more. But so far, the superstar trigger nandito sa BREN Esports. All throughout the season so far, napakagandang performance and excited to see them with this 10-ban system at makakita tayo ng mas marami pang heroes at mas marami pang malulupit na plays from BREN. Has been our first series, and I believe that we will have a chance to talk to one of our players kanina na nagpakitang gilas. I'm not entirely sure kung sino yung mismo makakausap natin, but I'm excited to see and talk to, sahakto, Carl TZ. Hello. Hello, Carl TZ. Batiin mo naman yung mga viewers natin. Ganun lang, Okay. Cartizy, ano ba ang sikreto mo? Bakit napakataas palagi ng KDA mo at bakit mahirap kang patayin?
Mataas yung KDA kasi napoprotect ako ng mga
Cartizy, gaano ka-importante yung ginagawa ng coach ninyo, lalo na ngayon na may 10-ban system?
Sobrang laking tulong po din ako namin parang suggest
Okay. So mukhang mas gusto ba yata magsalita ng mga teammates niya. Pero siguro, before we end, Cartizy, na gusto mong i-reveal sa mga viewers natin ngayon kung bakit ang lakas ng BREN Esports ngayon. Ano ba ang sikreto ng BREN?
8 hours a day practice script lagi. Kasi hindi na dapat. So, di ako nag-iisip. Mahirap mag-isip. Nag-iisip na
Okay. Cartizy, siguro last message na lang sa mga viewers natin at sa fans at syempre invite mo silang manood pa ng laban ng BREN Esports.
Thank you sa support. Tuloy siya kami support at shoutout sa mga viewers na
Okay. Thank you so much, Cartizy. Congratulations on that 2-0 win over Omega. That was your superstar, the child prodigy. Lagi natin sinasabi about Cartizy. We know that he's one of the strongest players out there. At what we really like about Cartizy is buo yung loob niya. I mean, I think that pag tinanong natin yung mga viewers, kahit yung mga coaches, they say that Cartizy is one of the most confident players out there. Hindi lang ngayong MPL Season 6, but even in the past seasons, when we see him, it really pops off. And I think that's very important for BREN Esports, and that's something that they can utilize all throughout the season. By the way, guys, we have our giveaway codes at meron pa tayong bonus code natin dahil balita ko ang daming sumasali sa ating mga giveaways, sa ating mga promos. And I think that if you continue to submit your entries consistently sa ating mga contested, you'll have more bonuses for sure. So, sali lang sali. But that has been our first series. I believe that we still have one featured match. After this, for now, we're gonna be hopping into the break. But before that, why don't we thank the entities that made this possible? MPL Season 6 is brought to us by our official sponsor, our tournament telco partner, Smart. And forge stronger bonds with your team as you conquer the battlefield with 1 GB of games all day for Mobile Legends, Facebook Gaming, and more. Just dial *123# and choose Giga Games 99. Of course, MPL-PH is also brought to us by official sponsor, Realme. I believe na meron na tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung ating hashtag Dare to be Realme. Realme is celebrating the first Realme Fan Fest and the hashtag Dare to be Realme campaign. Visit their official page at fb.com/RealmePhilippines to know more. MPL-PH Season 6 is also brought to us by our official sponsor.
Game to be great? Now you can with the new Smart Giga Games 99. Get 1 gig data all day, every day for Mobile Legends and more.
Live your life depends on the network you choose. Your movies, music, and games can only be as good as your network speed and strength. Slow means
game over.
But the Philippines' fastest mobile data network means
game changing.
Choose the network that gives you what you truly enjoy. How do you know about this Giga Life?
Simple and smart ako. When uncertainty is our reality, we rise above with the things that matter. Gigafy happiness. Gigafy love. Gigafy friendship. Gigafy dreams. Gigafy hope. With smart Giga music, video, games, work, and stories, we let our passions run free in the new world we face together. Smart, live Giga.
Realme smartphone. Dare to leap.
Realme Watch. Time to be smarter. Realme Dare to leap.
Don't pay cash.
Pay Maya.
Para may balik bayad ka.
You've got me on the edge.
Legit, right? Like your disposable razor. It's time you switch your disposable razor for your legit first shave so you can be every bit legit. Gillette Mac 3.
For a closer shave, less irritation.
to Gillette Mac 3.
Hi guys, I'm Shinboy, the one for a night.
At ako naman si Manjin.
At kami, Tandem.
And this is second episode of MPL
Meta Dive. Kung saan ang pag-uusapan natin ay ang meta. Meta, tol.
So ano nga ba ang ibig sabihin niyan? Sa mas pinadaling salita, kada laro ay meron tayo mga sikat or mga umuusong strategies na madaling gawin para manalo.
No? So, the biggest indicator of the meta or, alam mo yun, parang impacting ng meta would be of the patch.
Patch notes.
Presented to us in the patch notes. But presenting the patch notes to you, usually it is divided into 3 segments, no? You have a buff, meaning pinalakas. You have the nerf, meaning pinahina, and you also have some adjustments, no?
Ang magandang talakayan natin dito ay ano-ano nga ba yung mga usong metas per season. Simulan ko na.
Simulan mo na,
Per
tol.
season ng MPL Season 1, favorite hero ng lahat. Shinbu, siya lang ang may pinaka-unique na kit sa lahat. Mabilis yung rotation, mabilis nakaka-response, and malakas din yung damage.
I would describe Season 1's meta, aside from the funny, as a meta or a season of kills.
A season of
Kung saan napaka-popular ang mga assassins, hindi ganun kasikat ang mga support. Actually,
Hindi talaga.
walang pumipili ng support para Manjin, di ba?
So, ayun nga yung Season 1. Question, ano ba yung naging meta ng Season 2?
Of course, the Season 2 na paring Manjin has been characterized of the buffs that was done on the front line and the direct nerfs doon sa mga assassins ng Season 1. Isa sa mga pinakamalaking indicator ng naging meta for Season 2 compared to Season 1 would be of Selena and Kimi.
Yes.
Because they shot good damage from a very safe distance.
So, meron kang damage na Kimi na simula hanggang malayo pa lang. Tapos, meron kang 3-second arrow stun.
Yes.
Na nagmula sa Selena, na ikaw na rin nagsabi, pwede ka magtimpla ng pe. Kada tatamaan ka ng pana ni Selena. And isa yun sa mga naging paraan ng team ng Signal Ultra para manalo ng championship. With that, Kuya Shinbu, after Season 2, nag-evolve na naman yung game. Pumasok yung Season 3.
Nung Season 3 ngayon ng kakaibang approach na naman sa meta. Mas lalo ulit binawasan yung damage ng mga burst heroes natin. At din, mga team fights ay mas mahahaba.
Matatagal,
Oo, matatagal. Kasi talagang ang taas na naman ulit ng mga buffs and changes pagdating sa prolonged team fights in the form of fighter.
And mind you, dahil doon sa mga fighter setup at mas matatagal na laban ng mga teams, parang mas naging safer din yung laruan ng mga teams. Mas natuto na sila mag-objectives.
Yes.
And pinakita yon ng Archangel.
Yeah.
Look at this. Ang baba ng score nito, 10 minutes, pero